Hi guys, I hope you're all doing great. Today's video is going to be swatches for OPI's fall collection for 2016, and it has the name Washington, Washington DC, and it is the spokesperson for this collection is Kerry Washington. Don't know if you've seen her. She is in a series called Scandal and maybe some other things too. I'm not really that familiar with her myself, but anyway, this collection contains 12 polishes and 3 limited edition ones, and I'm gonna go through which ones they are so you can see. So the collection is actually 15 polishes, which is a lot, but that is what I'm gonna swatch for you guys today. And these are already out in stores, so you can just run by the store and go get the colors that you feel you want, unless they're sold out, but let's hope they're not. So let's go into the swatches. So I'm gonna start with the lighter ones, like the nude ones, and I'm gonna start with the 12 polishes that are in the regular collection, and then I'm gonna finish off with the 3 limited edition ones, so you know that. But let's start with this pale nude, and this one has the name Pale to the Sheath. This collection is mostly cream ones, I think. None of them are really glittery or shiny, shimmery. So let's see about the opacity on this one. This one is kind of streaky on one coat, so definitely in need of 2. We're gonna see what 2 will do for this. But here you can see 1 coat and coat number 2. Got a little too much on the brush. So you think this covers really well. When I look a little closer into the polish, it has really fine micro shimmer, but it's very subtle. So it's not like a shimmery polish. It is very subtle, like iridescent little shimmer right there. So here you can see 2 coats of Pale to the Sheath. Next up is a really cool tone, kind of brown. It's kind of like taupe, but a lot darker. So kind of a cool tone brown. And this one is the name Squeaker of the House. So let's see about the formula and the opacity. Kind of sheer on 1 coat. Looks like a nice color and like a nice fall color. I think they've made it pretty fall-y. This collection is really, when I look at the entire collection, it really feels like fall. So I think that's kind of nice. Here you have 1 coat and coat number 2. I think let's not put too little onto the brush if you wanted to have a nice opacity and coverage on 2 coats. So let's see, but 2 coats really does the trick unless it's too thin. But, oh, got a little messy there. A really nice cool tone brown. And here you have 2 coats of this cool brown Squeaker of the House. Next color is a little bit unexpected, but that is also something that I do enjoy, that when they throw in something that you weren't expecting in that collection. And this doesn't necessarily feel like fall color, but it can, and I think matched with the great things and depending on your skin tone, I think. But this is a kind of cool, a dusty yellow, and this one is the name Never a Dull Moment. It's kind of interesting with a color like this. But oh, I think onto my nails, it looks more fall-y, like fall, because it is a lot dustier than I expected. It's quite patchy and uneven on 1 coat, but we're gonna see if 2 coats will do the trick for this. There you have 1 coat and coat number 2. Let's see about the opacity here. I think this is a fun color. I do like a good yellow, and it's, let's see, I think it covers pretty well. If you want it to be completely patch free, you might consider adding a 3rd coat because I do still think I see some patchiness, but I think I'm gonna go for 2 coats for this. But if you would want it even more with the opacity, you should probably go for 3 coats. But here you can see 2 coats of this color. Never a dull, or dull is, I don't know how you say it, never a dull moment. And here is a kind of peachy, kind of towards persimmon, I think, the fruit. The color, it's not as orange as a pumpkin, so it's a little hard to define, but I'd say peachy towards the persimmon color. And this one has the name Freedom of Peach. I think this is a really interesting color too, that it caught my eye when I first saw it. But when it says peach, I was like, it's not really a peachy color. It might have a touch of peach, but it's not like a peachy color, because I would say peach is a lot more yellow, I'd say. But here you have 1 coat. I think it looks a lot more orange onto the nail than in the bottle. But let's see what 2 coats will do for this. And let's see about coat number 2. It definitely covers well on 2 coats. And I don't think it really makes a big difference on, like, it deepens the color or anything. I think it's a little hard to define, but yeah, I'd say more towards the persimmon kind of pumpkin color. But here you have 2 coats of Freedom of Peach. And here is kind of a burnt orange towards the red. Hard to define this color too. It looks nice in the bottle. Let's see what it looks like under the nails. And this one is the name Yank My Doodle. So let's see about this one. Kind of a sheer on 1 coat. Maybe I took too little to the brush. Let's see. I think it looks definitely in need of 2 coats. It doesn't get really streaky, but it's a little sheer on 1 coat. Let's see what 2 coats will do for this. You see the difference? The first nail, this one, I think I got a little bit too little onto the brush, but I think that 2 coats will fix this. But here you can see 1 coat, and coat number 2. Got a little heftier coat here to really make that cover. And you see that opacity, perfect opacity on 2 coats. And I think it wasn't really patchy or streaky on 1 coat. So, but definitely in need of 2. I think this is a beautiful color. A really deep burnt, kind of a reddish orange. Pretty. Look at that. Here you have 2 coats of the color Yank My Doodle. And here is a really berry color with like a purplish red, purplish reddish berry kind of color, a deep, pretty color. This one is the name OPI by popular vote. When I see colors like this, it's always like, oh, I love these kind of colors, but I think more the idea of them than what I actually do when I get it onto the nails normally, which is kind of weird. But this is a really pretty, really great opacity on this one. Really pretty berry. Ooh, I like this. Here you have 1 coat and coat number 2. This covered so well even on 1 coat. But let's see about the 2nd coat. It really doesn't do that much. It deepens the color just slightly. But of course, as you know, 2 coats are always to prefer because it stays on so much longer into the nails, and then you're really sure that it won't be patchy or with the opacity. Here you have 2 coats of this really beautiful, it looks more red onto the nails, like a berry red. Really, really pretty. OPI by popular vote. 2 coats. And here is one of my favorites as well. It's a really bright, kind of a super red magenta, but it is more on the pink side than on the red side. And oh, this is so bright and so beautiful. Doesn't necessarily feel like a fall color, but let's show you what it looks like into the nails. And this one has the name Madam President. I think it looks a lot more pink. It's a magenta, but it's like reddish, but definitely more on the pink side. It's so beautiful. I love this color. Ooh, it's so pretty. All right, here you have one coat. And coat number 2. This covers really well even on one coat, so it doesn't make a huge difference on coat number 2, as you can see. But it is always to prefer. It's such a beautiful magenta. Oh, I really, really like this color. Here you have 2 coats. Let's see if I can show you that it is more pink than red. Oh, it's so hard to really give this justice. But in reality, it looks a lot more on the pinkier side. But it's like, oh, I'm gonna make a comparison so you can see next to a red one and next to a pink one. So you see it's really not any of them, but it's like, it's a red-ish magenta. But here you have 2 coats of the color Madam President. I just had to show you this comparison. Here is a really bright pink, and this is Kiss Me on My Tulips, and this is Madam President. Can you see that compared to this, it looks a lot more on the red side. Still, it isn't red, but it looks a lot more on the red side. But if I change to compare with this one, and this is Danke Shiny Red, you see that it looks super pink. So it's kind of interesting how it's somewhere in between. Ooh, can you see that? Yeah, maybe that gives you a little bit better idea about the actual color. And here is a really deep and pretty color. Hard to define. It's a little on the berry side, but maybe I'd call it a muted brick red, and it's a cream. We'll see about that. This one is the name We the Female. I really am a huge fan of deeper colors in the fall, both on the nails and onto the lips. Wow, look at that opacity. What a beautiful cream polish. Ooh, I like this. Really great opacity on one coat, and it's so easy to work with. Really, really, really pretty. Here you have one coat. It is definitely in need of 2 though, but darker polishes always are, so that's just something to count with. But one coat here, and coat number 2 doesn't do that much for the actual opacity since it covered so well on one coat, but it deepens it just slightly. But it's a beautiful, oh, I like this. I think this is one of my favorites so far. Here you can see 2 coats of this really deep, kind of muted brick red, or whatever you call it, but it looks super pretty. And this one is 2 coats of the color We the Female. And now into something completely different. Here we have a kind of an army green, a really cool mossy army green, and it's a cream. And this one is the name Suzi, the First Lady of Nails. Very intriguing color. Not sure if this is something, not my cup of tea, but onto the right skin. And depending on what outfit you're wearing, you could definitely pull this off, of course, but I'm sure some of you would love this color. But here you can see one coat. A little patchy and definitely in need of 2 coats. And coat number 2 definitely deepens the color and gives it full opacity, and that is great. I think polishes should always have full opacity on 2 coats. 3 coats is a bit too much, but 2 coats is always a perfect amount of coats. But here you can see, look at that, you see that closer, 2 coats of this kind of army green, Suzi, the First Lady of Nails. It is kind of cool though. And here is a kind of a blue tone, dusky green. This one is the name Stay Off the Lawn. All right, so let's see. Really nice cream color with great opacity. Definitely in need of 2 coats. But you see that it covers really well. And the opacity is really great, which I always appreciate. Here you have 1 coat. And coat number 2. Definitely deepens the color, but it is such a good cream, so it would work on 1 coat, but definitely 2 coats is always good. But here you can see this blue toned green, really pretty actually. Here you have 2 coats of the color Stay Off the Lawn. And here is a really deep teal blue cream, really pretty. And this one is the name CIA equals Color is Awesome. So let's see about this one. This one is definitely more streaky on 1 coat than the previous 2 or even the previous 3. But let's see about the 2 coats. I've been looking around a little bit on other blogs because I'm always interested to see what other people think about them, the collections and the colors. But and this one I saw some people were writing is a stainer that is going to stain your nails. I haven't really tried this. This is the first time I'm trying it out, so I can't really tell about that. But you could always double up on base coats just in case if you are worried about that. But here you have 1 coat. In coat number 2, I did take a little bit more onto the brush for this coat to make sure it covers. And it really does without any problems because you see I did take a little bit less on the other 2 fingers. But here you have 2 coats. This really pretty CIA equals Color is Awesome. And here you have 2 coats. And last one of the ones that are supposed to be from the regular 12 polishes is this really super dark, cool tone, like a chocolate brown. And it looks really interesting. Let's see what it looks like into the nails. This one is the name Shh, it's Top Secret. It looks really super dark into the bottle. And let's see if it is as dark onto the nails. Kind of streaky and patchy on 1 coat. So definitely in need of 2. All right, there you have 1 coat. Looks almost black. And let's see about coat number 2. A little more into the brush to give it full opacity, and you see that really deepens the color. And the opacity gets really strong now as well. I did take quite a lot on the brush, but that should be fine. There you go. Here you have 2 coats. See, it almost looks black. It is, in real life, you can see definitely more about that it being a really cool toned, really deep brown. But it will look pretty close to black. But a really deep brown, and this one is the name Shh, it's Top Secret. 2 coats. And here is a kind of deep plumish kind of color, really pretty. And this is one of the 3 from the special edition ones. So this is going to be available only for a while. And this one is the name Kerry Blossom. So let's see about this one. It looks pretty in the bottle, and I read something about someone saying it being darker onto the nail and it dries down darker than it looks in the bottle. So let's see about that. But here you have one coat, kind of patchy and streaky, so definitely in need of at least 2 coats. Coat number 2. I really want this to cover and be as it is in the bottle. Ooh, that really deep in the color. Can you see that? So 2 coats really makes a difference when it comes to both opacity and that it deepens the color like a lot. I think this is a beautiful plum, and here you can see 2 coats of the color Kerry Blossom. Really, really pretty. And here is a kind of a deep gray, like a charcoal gray, and this one has the name Live in the Gray. So many beautiful polishes with great opacity in this collection. I really like that. It did cover pretty well on one coat, as you can see onto my ring finger, but definitely 2 coats are required. Here you have 1 coat. And coat number 2, full opacity here. It's a really cool, kind of like industrial looking gray. I really like this color. So perfect opacity on 2 coats. And here you can see this kind of, it's like it has a slight touch of green in it, but it's like a really kind of deep charcoal gray. Here you have 2 coats of the color Live in the Gray. And last but not the least, this is the last one from the 3rd one in the limited edition ones, but also the last polish that I am showing you today. This is a really true caramel color, warm caramel. I think it looks really pretty, and I'm interested to see what it looks like onto the nails. This one has the name Inside the ISABEl Way, something. All right, really cream caramel. I think it looks pretty. Covers well on 1 coat. And there you have 1 coat. And coat number 2, it did cover pretty well even on 1 coat, but it definitely gives it full opacity and bang on caramel. It's a really nice color actually. Perfect opacity on 2 coats. And here you have 2 coats of this caramel Inside the ISABEl Way, or something like that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy these swatches. I know, again, long time no see. My life is kind of busy right now. I have a little 2-year-old and I am pregnant with a 2nd girl, which is due in November. So I'm excited about that. My little girl is gonna have a baby sister. So yay. But thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more. I'll try to do more when I get the time, and I will see you soon again.